Warning, this content may be disturbing to some audiences. Subscribe, if you dare.
That night she confessed to me that her father, my dad's brother-in-law, was a secret cross-dresser. Hey everybody, welcome to ANECDOSED. People ask Reddit. What's the darkest secret anyone has ever told you? Serious.
Number 1.
I have droopy eyes and a learning disability due to head trauma I sustained as a child, but I never knew what happened. I was drinking with my older stepbrother and he broke down crying, telling me he's sorry for hitting me and causing all those issues. Apparently when he was 15 he decided to strike me in the head and I wasn't the same after. I can't tell you how much it hurts knowing this.
Number 2.
While I was in treatment at Belmont Hospital, I had a guy come over to me and sit next to me, only for him to tell me he was molested when he was young and that he was going to tell his mom for the first time that day. He just kept asking me how am I going to tell her without making her think it's her fault. Heartbreaking.
Number 3.
This is so heartbreaking. And I've actually seen this from the other side kind of. I used to be a sexual assault advocate, and during one of my hospital outreaches I sat with a woman who had been assaulted, at a park, by a man who she met there. And who she talked down from committing suicide. Yep. This guy confided in her that he wanted to kill himself. She helped him. And he proceeded to assault her and beat her to the point of nearly killing her in a park. This woman was torn up, black and blue everywhere, and all she kept talking about was how in the world she was going to tell her 2 sons who loved her to bits and were super protective of her, single mom. She knew they would find a way to blame themselves, and that's what was hurting her the most. I think about her a lot out of most of my clients. I hope she's recovering well with her sons by her side. People are trash.
Number 4.
My older sister admitted to me that when she was a teenager she went to the back streets, an area full of warehouses, with our dad's gun and thought about killing herself. My sister and I are 5 years apart. We didn't become close until I was about 13. She admitted this to me when I was about 14 or 15. I don't know if she remembers confiding in me about that detail, but I'm grateful she thought about her family members. Since I was much younger I don't really remember the specific reasons why, but it's not hard to piece together. I just remember her barely beginning to let me in, so I didn't fully understand or process how serious of a confession that was. My sister was considered the bad child. She was rebellious and had a distant relationship with my parents. I remember her self-medicating with drugs and alcohol. She struggled with her self-image and was bulimic. There's no doubt that our parents' weird and unhealthy relationship affected us all in our own ways. I know she had a lot of anger towards them. Unfortunately, our parents never believed in depression or going to therapy. They saw her as ungrateful and wild, never really considering how their actions influenced us. Today she is great. We are super close. She calls me every time she gets out of work. When she talks about her past, she is not proud of the things she's done. She didn't get to finish high school, which she always regrets, but she is currently looking to get her GED to eventually go back to school. I think she is a very strong soul for getting through her hardships as a teen. She still struggles with bulimia, but she has gotten a lot better at portioning her food to avoid doing that. I love her very much and it makes me very happy that she values my opinions. I love being able to make memories together. I respect her drive and the amount of focus she puts into something she is trying to accomplish. Writing this made me tear up because I really can't imagine life without her.
Number 5.
I suppose it wasn't a secret, I just didn't know about it for a long time. My little sister was molested by our babysitter's husband when she was 4 and I was 6. She told me when we were in our mid-30s. It triggered a memory, walking around the house looking for her, and finally walking into the garage where she was there with him. He shouted at me to get out, which I did. I didn't see what was going on. She was being forced to give him a blowjob, or I didn't process it. It also triggered another memory, his older daughter, 12ish I think, undressing for the boys in the playhouse in the backyard. At the time I thought it was really weird. And now I know it was due to trauma. I tried to get my sister to do something about it, but she didn't want to, and the statute of limitations has long expired. Tried telling her that she maybe could save some other kid. Sis is dead now. Drank herself to death in her early 40s.
Number 6.
My friend came to school and told me something like this one day in 4th grade. Dude, I just ran into this old lady's mailbox in front of her house with my big ass bike on the way to school. She was sitting out front on her wheelchair. So I got the hell out of there. Anyway, she wheeled herself down to see the damage. Lost control on the steep pavement to the road and got hit by a car. He said he had never biked so fast before. We are pretty sure she died. God may rest her soul.
Number 7.
When I was 15, my cousin and I raided my dad's home brew and got plastered. That night she confessed to me that her father, my dad's brother-in-law, was a secret cross-dresser. She'd come home early from a party and discovered him. Nothing to be ashamed of on his part, but he was staunchly conservative and a total pompous ass. Last person you'd expect. My dad and grandfather couldn't stand the bloke. I broke her confidence and ultimately told my dad. I was a kid and I didn't know what to do with the information. Dad of course didn't tell anyone, but he did say, I'll only tell one person, just the old man when he's on his deathbed so he can die with a smile on his face.
Number 8.
My buddy killed 2 people trying to rob him with a rock in Brazil while on vacation. He came back with bad scratches and cuts, but he never told the authorities in fear that they'd arrest him or flip the story because he's a foreigner. He killed them with a rock. They tried to rob him with a long pipe and a pistol. I'm assuming it wasn't loaded, but I never asked for the deep details and I've never brought it up since he's told me. This happened over 4 years ago and it still bugs him to this day. He was a collegiate wrestler at the time and one of the nicest people you'd meet. Nowadays he's still very nice, but when we go out I notice him always looking over his shoulder and scanning the room. Not predatorily, but almost like he's waiting for another attack. Makes me sad he has to deal with that now.
Number 9.
Once, I was making taco meat for my family's dinner. I was, 12 or so. My mom was in a talking mood, aka sociably drunk. She told me that she went to abort me, but had already had too many other abortions and the doctor told her the damage from this one might make her infertile. So she decided to keep me, because I was supposedly her only chance at being a mom. She was 17 when she had me, and so I was incredibly lucky to get to live. And then flounces off and eats her tacos. Fast forward to when I move 1,000 miles away and she cannot reconcile with the fact that I was able to detach and leave my loving, supportive family.
Number 10.
I've had a few people confide in me they were molested/raped. My friend when I was 12 started seeing a 40-plus-year-old she met on Yahoo Chat. I told my parents told her parents. He was arrested, trial happened. Very graphic details came out about his multiple 10 to 13-year-old victims. He was sent to prison for 10 years. She was in love and has hated me since. I tried to reconnect with her, thinking now that we're in our 30s she'd want to maybe talk. She immediately blocked me on all social media. My husband told me he was raped multiple times as a young boy by an adult neighbor. He never told anyone except me. The neighbor died a few years before he told me.
Number 11.
I was born in 1964, so my friends and I grew up mostly in the 1970s. After reconnecting with them years later and on Facebook, etc., the amount of kids in my neighborhood who told me they had been molested, either by an older kid or a family member, really shocked me. A lot of it came from this one older boy who evidently was being raped by his father too. The dad was also raping the younger sister who was our age. I started asking around after my childhood best friend told me everything when we were about 25 years/0 and I felt so bad, like I should have been able to see what he was going through. My own dad was a cop, so I think that's why that one older kid left me alone, but damn, our neighborhood was very Brady Bunch and you'd have never guessed all this was going on behind the scenes.
Number 12.
My ex-friend told me that she wanted her little brother dead and would often do things like spit in his water bottle, hit him and call him stupid and locked him outside at 1 a.m. because he had trouble getting to sleep.
Number 13.
A couple of years back I was sitting at the bar watching a baseball game and having a pint. Just a handful of other people there, and me and this one guy at the bar were engaged in the typical sports conversation. After a couple of hours of the game this guy felt comfortable enough with me, or just needed to get it out, to tell me about his rape. I didn't really know what to do except just let him get it out. The "it's not your fault" platitude seems pretty hollow in this situation, but there wasn't much else I could muster. I asked if he was seeking help, and that there are many support groups for men that have been through similar situations. I offered the guy a hug and he damn near tackled me. I'm a pretty introverted person, so that level of trust from a stranger kind of freaks me out, but I hope I was at least able to help him somewhat, even if it was to just release some of the pressure.
Number 14.
I had a coworker who used to confide in me. She got drunk one time and told me the reason behind her divorce. She found a VHS made with an old school video camera in which her daughter, 11 years old at the time, was sleeping in her underwear. The video was recorded secretly by her husband and hidden away with other disgusting masturbation material. Dude was perving on his own daughter. This all happened 10 years before I even met my coworker. Charges were never pressed, and to this day she doesn't know where he is.
Number 15.
My best friend in high school had a close friend, who he knew through Army cadets, I never met her, pass away in a car accident. He revealed to me, I don't quite know why, that he always felt guilt because there was one time they were at her cottage, and these guys basically raped her right in front of him after beating him up when he tried to stop it. I don't even remember how I responded at the time.
Number 16.
I had an acquaintance admit to me that in a fit of jealous rage he broke several of his boyfriend's ribs because he caught him making out with someone else. That was the last time we talked. I never saw him again. I genuinely had no idea how to react at the time, and the contact came out of the blue as we hadn't spoken in months. Before anyone asks why I didn't call the cops, he hadn't told me where he was moving to when he left this town, and we hadn't been good enough friends to really connect, so we just stopped talking. So I couldn't just start calling the cops in random cities about a guy who might or might not be there, and if so, I only had a name and an AIM handle for.
Number 17.
I was driving a college buddy around the small New England town he grew up in. We're driving down a dirt road and all of a sudden he freaks out, "Turn the car around. We have to go. Now. Turn the car around now." So I turned the car around. He went through some deep breathing and said my sister had a baby that died and she buried it there and never told my parents. I had forgotten about that until we drove by. Make sure to share your personal story in the comments below and have the opportunity to be featured in a future video. Also, if you like these topics, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification button to continue seeing more content like this every day. See you next time.